Just a quick word of welcome from the Forest Speaks Committee that we are all here this afternoon, and I hope you didn't have to walk through hot weather to get here, but I expect some of you did. I'm not going to say anything more before I turn the program over to John LeBar, whom probably most of you have met since he became a resident here. He's going to be talking to us about a topic which I think we've all been made more than aware of if we've read the newspapers in the last few years about athletics at universities. Thank you, John, for agreeing to do this.
Thank you, Margaret. I wanted to say thank you to all of you for showing up too. I appreciate it. I had an inclination that there might just be a very small group coming, and I have said many times I really don't mind when I talk to small groups because some of the best times of my life have been with only 2 people present. Playing tennis, of course. Yeah, so I will talk to you and give you a little bit of my biography, and then I'll start on my regular thing, what we're going to do about it. And if I make a couple mistakes, don't get all excited, because sometimes I'm not totally clear about everything. But anyway, I want to tell you that I grew up in Kansas City, Kansas, graduated from Wyandotte High School, and went 2 years to community college because my parents were very poor, and I had 2 brothers that went on to college, and they couldn't afford to send me to a 4-year college. So I went to 4-year college, 2-year college, and then I decided that I needed to get some money from somewhere, so I decided I'd go into the military and get the GI Bill. So I enlisted in it and spent 2 years in the Army. I came back and I got into University of Kansas at Pittsburgh. It was a satellite school, and finished my degree there, my BS, and then I decided to get a master's degree. I went to Kansas State Teachers College in Emporia, Kansas, and then when I get my last degree, I got my last degree from Duke University, my doctorate degree, and I feel lucky to be where I am right now. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about my 53 years in a long time, and I can tell you right now, I don't think I'll be able to tell you half of the stories that I have from 53 years of teaching and coaching in higher education. And I'm also happy to see some people in here who their children were at my camp, and some of the people in here who I taught tennis to. So it's really a pleasure to do this talk. I'm going to talk about my first experience when I went to Rice University, and this was an amazing event for me because my graduate advisor and my master's degree were good friends with the chairman of the physical education department at Rice University, and he asked me how I would like to go to Rice, and I said, well, that sounds like pretty good, first job going into a great education school like that. And when I went down there, I had some very unique experiences. And I drove into the campus, and when I drove in there, I looked over and across the line, and I said, boy, they had a battleship here? No, that's the university football stadium. Now, the football stadium at Rice University seated 75,000 people, and their enrollment in the university was 1,200 students. Now, I could not believe this. I said, oh my God, this is just incredible. But what happened is they decided that they wanted to have big-time athletics early on, and that's what happened, and they won everything. I mean, they were champions in football, baseball, everything. And the football coach was well known by everybody in the world, and everybody, all the players loved him. But they had 125 players on their team. Now, today, the legal amount you're about to have is 85. Well, they put that rule in, and they didn't have that rule at that time, so I asked the coach. His coach's name was Jess Neely, famous coach, and I said, Coach, why do you have so many players? You only play, a number of people, small 24 people, offense and defense. He said, well, if you're a student or a resident of Texas, and you're a football player, you get to come to Rice University for no tuition. So I said, wow, that is a big plus. And so I said, well, you still can't play 125 players. And he said, no, but what we do is we look for players that Texas might want, and we're not sure we want, and we recruit them because we don't want Texas to get them, because we might not be able to beat Texas if they get those players. So that was really one of my unique experiences. And then I got to know them pretty well, and what I couldn't believe is that the coach, Neely, who was a very powerful guy at Rice, decided that the football players were not doing too well in the physical education curriculum. So he proposed a new curriculum to the academic council. And the curriculum was a bachelor of anyway, a bachelor's degree in business. And I said, they will never pass this. This is an academic university, and he's going to hire all the faculty. So they'll have a degree just for the athletes. And I said, the academic council will never pass it. Well, guess what? They passed it with not one no. They all voted yes to put this curriculum in. I just couldn't believe it. I said, this is just not right, but it went on anyway. So anyway, I had one really good experience, though, at Rice. I was always the kind of person that liked to learn new things, and one day I was walking by the gym, and there was a fencing class going on. And so I looked in there, and I said, well, that looked kind of interesting. And the guy that was teaching the class said, why don't you come on in and learn about fencing? I said, I don't know anything about it. He said, neither does anybody in this class. Nobody knows anything about it. But I was an Olympic fencer, and I'll be glad to teach you this sport. And I said, I've never known that sport, and I've known a lot of sports. So I worked with him for about 2 years, the time I stayed at Rice, and I got pretty good. So actually created a position for me at Duke, which I'll explain later. And it's kind of like I like to learn new things, and I've taught or coached or played almost every sport that you can think of, and enjoyed every one of them. I actually tried lacrosse once, but when I went up on the field, my friend who was the coach put me in all the uniform, and the boys kept hitting me with their sticks on my arm, kept hitting me. And I kept saying, this is called lacrosse? I mean, this is what you do? You hit each other with a stick? And I said, I don't think this is for me. And I took it off and never went back, because I said, I'm not into getting beat up with a stick. So I had a lot of experiences, and that is one that I never forgot. So and my experience also at Rice University was with an academic person, and was college professor of chemistry. And we were just talking, I said, well, how bright the students are here, 1,200 students, very selective. And he said, you know, we would be a great university if we didn't have any students. And I said, what? And he said, yeah, that's right. I said, is it our job to teach students? And he said, well, yeah, but just think how much better it would be if we just do research. We don't teach anything. I said, well, that's one way to look at it, but I never thought of it that way, and it just blew my ears off when he said something like that. But I think that it became more and more popular that faculty would just do more research and teach less as time went on. So anyway, my experience there ended up, and I decided to take another job at the University of Missouri in Kansas City. And the reason I decided to go there was because my family was there, and I wanted to stay there, work there with them. And I had some unique experiences there, but not many. It was pretty boring to be there, to be honest with you. But I did get an opportunity to do one thing. They asked me if I wanted to be the basketball coach. Well, I did play basketball in the community college when I went there, and I knew a little bit about basketball, and it wasn't a varsity team. It was a club team. And they said, well, we play all the local schools around. And so I said I took the job, and it was really a fun job. I had a great time. And we had decided we were going to put a clinic on for the team and invite some coach to come up and talk to the team about basketball. And guess who we got? We got a young guy named Dean Smith. It's one of his early years when he came up, but he sure gave a good clinic, and everybody really liked it. That was probably my highlight of my time at UMKC. So that takes me off to my experiences at Duke, which are many, many, many. And I won't be able to tell all of them to you, and I hope some of them that I tell you won't offend you, because I've had a lot of experiences there. And my first experiences was with the fencing team. I was actually hired to coach the fencing team. And one of the things they forgot to tell me in coaching the fencing team was that I would be hosting, in my first year there, the NCAA tournament for fencing. Well, I didn't know anybody. I never put on a tournament before. So I actually got lucky. And two of the people that had been working with the club team was the guy who was the owner of the newspaper, the Herald Sun, and the other guy was a banker. So they helped me out. And I said, well, one thing for sure, when we have this tournament, we'll have all the press here because we got the owner of the paper. And so the press came in, and one of the first questions they asked me is, how deep do you dig the holes? I said, no, that's not this fencing. This is a sport. So, this is how much the press actually knew about the sport of fencing, not much at all. But it was really, I enjoyed doing it. It was one of my favorite things to do, was to host that tournament. Now, my experiences at Duke led to a lot of other things. When I coached the fencing team, it was absolutely amazing what these players were like. And I'm going to tell you one story about them. The fencing team was unique because none of them we had any experience. We got them all from the PE classes. So if you're a good athlete, we say, why don't you try out for fencing? And always the same word was, I really don't know anything about it. Well, come on and you just try it. So we got a whole team of just people out of the PE class. Now the story that I'm going to tell you is the most unique one I've had in any time. It was a fencer that I had. And about 5 years after he graduated, he called me up and he said, why don't you come and play some golf with us? So I said, well, I'm not a very good golfer, but I'll be glad to play golf with you. So we went out, and when we finished, we were just having a beer, and he said, Coach, I got to tell you something. I said, what is that? He said, I'm most proud of one thing being at Duke for 4 years. I said, what's that? I got a varsity letter in fencing. I said, what? You graduated from Duke with a BS. You graduated from Duke with a doctor's degree, and you become a successful doctor. And the most important thing, the best thing that happened to you is you got a letter in fencing? How is that possible? That can't be true. He said, it is true. I'm most proud about that. And I said, wow, that's just really, really unique. But, you know, I had a lot of really unique experiences at Duke. And one of them was with the football team. And I don't know if anybody knew who the coach of football was at 1964. There's a guy named Bill Murray. And he's one of the toughest guys I ever knew in my life. He's from the Pennsylvania steel mills. And they had an outing for all the staff, the athletic staff. They played golf, and I didn't play. But they did have a luncheon at the Holiday Inn, which is right down the road, not far, and it was really nice at that time. It's not so nice now. So I'm sitting there, I'm getting in there, and I'm the young guy, the first young whippersnapper, and I'm sitting next to one of the assistant football coaches. His name was Herschel Caldwell, and as we're sitting there, all of a sudden, a big clump of bread soaked in beer hits him in the chest and splatters all over. And I'm thinking, oh my God. He doesn't say one word. He just gets up and pulls a knife out of his pocket and goes and cuts this guy's tie in half that he thought through it. So I said, wow, that's something else. Well, then he got up and he said, where's that damn wrestling coach? He thinks he's so tough. I'm going to show him how tough he is. I'm going to wrestle him right here in this floor. So lo and behold, they get out there, and they're wrestling and knocking tables over and beer on the floor and going crazy. And I'm looking at him, and I said, whoa, this is something else. So he gets up finally and he says, "Where is the sports information director?" And they said, "He's right over there." "Oh, well, we did not get one All-American this year. And I need to talk to him about it." So he goes over and he says, "Okay, we didn't get one All-American." And he picks him up and puts him on his shoulders. And he takes him through the outside door and throws him in the swimming pool with all his clothes on. I said to myself, I think I'm in the right place. Anyway, the football coach was really a unique guy, and you will never see another person like him ever coaching again, because he did a lot of things. One of the other ones that I didn't forget, one of my favorite stories, they invited me to, one of my first year there, to take a trip with them down to Clemson, where they were playing a football game, and they ride in a bus. And so I said, "Sure, I'd like to go down with you guys." So I'm in the bus, and the bus leaves at 9 o'clock, and the bus is pulling out, and they're missing their star running back. His name was Jay Wilkinson. He was son of the Wilkinson coach at Oklahoma. And he was a star, All-American, everything. And he's outside. He's not in the bus. And he's hollering at the coach, "Coach, let me in, let me in." He said, "We leave at 9 o'clock. Get a ride down there." He's supposed to find a ride. He's not getting on the bus because he wasn't there in time. So he finds a ride, gets all the way down to Clemson, plays the game, runs for 100 yards. They beat Clemson, and Coach Murray says to him, "Find the ride back." You ever see that again today in this world? Never. Nobody ever treats their superstar like that in today's world. It was a different world. And the changes that have happened since I got to Duke and I'll see all the big-time football is just incredible. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. I also had some unique things about, other sports, and some of them was in my own sport, in tennis. And as the coach of tennis, I took over the tennis team in 1967. I coached two sports for a while, fencing team and the tennis at the same time. And as coaches, I thought we had to have some kind of settling what we're going to do. And so I decided that we would have three things that are most important. One is their academics, two is their tennis, and three is their life at Duke University. Now, you'd be amazed how many freshmen at Duke University have troubles with their girlfriends. So I became the counselor, and I became the tennis coach. And that was really unique because I'm not really a very good counselor. And when I was coaching, I did have some issues, and I'm going to tell you about a couple of them that I had. I had one player who was really a good player, and he decided that he'd come down to the match that we were having, and it was kind of rough. We had a little grass in the back, and he's pouting. You guys lip pulled down like this. So I said to him, "What is wrong with you?" He said, "Well, you have got me playing number 2, and I'm number 1. I said, "No, you are not number 1. You are number 2. Next year, you'll be number 1. But this year, you're number 2." And he's still pouting, so I grab him around the neck like this. I put a headlock on him. And I said, "I don't like pouting, and you know that." "Oh, okay, you don't like pouting." Then we fall on the ground, he and I. We're laying on the ground and we're wrestling. The opposing coach comes up and says, "Are you doing all right?" I said, "Yeah, I'm just giving him an attitude adjustment." "Oh," he said, "okay." So we got up, and one of the other players said, "Coach, if you lose your job as a tennis coach, you could also be the wrestling coach." I said, "I don't want to do that." So anyway, my player, he goes out on the court. He wins the match. He does great. Comes back on. Next year, he's playing number 1. He quit pouting altogether. He became All-American. He won the ACC championship and never pouted. So it worked. And I was never sure how it always works because it's a little, off color a little bit. But anyway, the other one that I had was one of the boys that I had was also a good player. and played number 5. He didn't play in the top line. But he said to me one day, you know, Coach, I'm really a good doubles player. I said, I know you are. He said, well, how come I'm not playing in the doubles? I said, well, I have to tell you the truth. And the truth is I can't find anybody who wants to play with you. He said, oh, are you serious? I said, yeah, I'm serious. He said, well, why is that? I said, well, you have what I call a no filter. What goes in your ears goes out your mouth. And you need to get a filter. So people say things, and you say things that are just not appropriate to your partners, your players here. So he said, you're really serious, aren't you? And I said, yes, I am. So he said, okay, I'll take care of it. So in about a month, he quit saying all those things and became very likable guy. As a matter of fact, he became so likable, he found a partner to play with, and he and his partner won the ACC championship, and everybody liked him from there on. Was that tough? That was tough. But was it honest, and was it true? And it worked. So I had some tough things that I did, but you know, they all happened to work. And I really think that in my era, that's the way most coaches were. Today, that doesn't happen at all. And the reason is because they're employees, and they're, you know, just, it's a different life altogether. And I'm going to talk about the NIL. But maybe I'll just stop there real quick. Well, maybe I'll go ahead and tell you one about my PE classes, one of the unique ones, a unique one. So I was the director of undergraduate studies at that time. I wasn't coaching anymore. And one of our young faculty came in and said, Dr. LeBar, I have this girl I'm teaching now. And our PE classes now were now all voluntary. They were all pass-fail. So, and we made the whole change. And believe it or not, when we got into voluntary, the enrollment almost doubled. I mean, it was amazing. The students didn't want to be told what to do. They wanted to say, I'd like to take this class. So enrollment in all the classes increased. Well, he said to me, I have this girl in my class, and she's missed 7 classes, and we had a rule, if you miss 7 classes, you automatically fail, which was 25% of the classes. And so he said, what should I do? I said, well, you go to her and you tell her, you will go one-on-one, you'll make up the classes, and you'll be able to get, and the classes are all pass-fail, you'll be able to get a passing grade. So he went and told the girl that that he would go help her and make up the classes, and so she would get a passing grade. She said, I don't want to make up the classes. So he comes back, he said, what do I do? You give her an F. She gets an F. So the next day I get a call from her mother. How dare you flunk my girl in a PE class? So I explained to her what happened, and so she said, okay, you'll hear from my lawyer tomorrow. So I get a call the next day from her lawyer, and he said, what's the story? And so I tell him the whole story. There was a big pause. He said, I'm sorry to bother you. Good job. Those kind of stories I don't have anymore. And I've got some that are much worse than that, but I'm not going to carry on and talk to you about them. All I can say is the PE classes were a lot of fun, and all the kids were so enthusiastic. But this is my favorite story about the PE classes. I taught the fencing classes for a long time, and when I gave that up, we got a guy that was teaching them. He's from France, and his name was Alex Beguenet. And Alex was a little short guy, and he always wore a ponytail thing on his head and everything, and he was teaching the fencing classes. And my job at that time was to get the evaluations on all the faculty and just see if their students really enjoyed the classes. So I'm reading his evaluations, and one of the evaluations says, Alex is really cute. I'm thinking, oh, wow. So I get Alex, and I said, Alex, I got your evaluation. He said, yeah, what's it say? He said, you're really cute. Some girl in there really thinks you're cute. He says, Coach, we don't have any women in this class. Anyway, those are most of my stories about the PE classes. I guess I could tell 2 more, and then I got enough time to get from NIL. I had a girl in my class my lecture class, and I usually had him write a business plan. And so she said, I'd like to have a conference with you to talk about my business plan. I said, okay, go on in. She comes in, and there we are. And her phone rings. So she says, can I answer the phone? I said, sure. So she talks on the phone and hangs the phone up. And I said to her, what would you do if you didn't answer the phone? She said, I'd be so nervous I couldn't talk to you. I said, you know, we used to send letters that didn't get over there for a week or two. Now we have to have instant gratification on the phone. You could not talk, and it would sure be all right. It would probably be everybody has to have the information right now. And so she said, well, I think you're right. I won't do that anymore. And I said, well that's good. But it was just, every time you turn around, there was another issue that you had to deal with. And I can just tell you they were all fun. Every one of them I really, really enjoyed. And most of my classes of teaching, I still get feedback from those students, that a lot of them, that how they enjoyed the classes. And one of them wrote me the longest, nice letter that I think I ever got in my life. And one of them told me that the PE class was the best class he had at Duke University. And I said, that cannot be true. I mean, this is just, it's a PE class. It's just, sure, it's not physics or, biology or something else. No, this is the best class I ever had in this school. And I said, something's wrong with this school then, if that's the case. Anyway, we went on and on and on, and all of my career of teaching of 53 years in total, there's no way I can cover 53 years in 40 minutes. It's just impossible for me to do. But most of those stories that I tell you are things that don't happen anymore. I mean, everybody's so loose now, and half the athletes don't go to class anymore, which they normally did when I'm my era. As a matter of fact, I had Jay Billis, Johnny Dawkins, Mark Allery, and David Henderson in my tennis class. And this was one of my favorite classes, and they signed up for advanced tennis. All right. Now these guys are pretty good athletes, but Jay Billis and Mark Allery were country club boys, and they had played tennis before, and they were actually not bad. But Johnny Dawkins and David Henderson didn't ever play tennis, and they signed up for the advanced class. Well, you tell them to do one thing, and they do it just like that. I mean, they're such great athletes. They're just fantastic. We got to the end of the class, and Johnny Dawkins and David Anderson said, we would like to challenge those two big turkeys. You want to play them a tennis match? Yeah. So I'm thinking they're going to get killed. But, they paid attention. They came to every class. So we're only playing one set. The students in the class are sitting on the bleachers, and when they started playing, the students went crazy. They're screaming and hollering at their favorite player, and it's like we were at Wimbledon. And so they played, and guess who won? David Henderson and Johnny Dawkins beat those two big turkeys. And the class went crazy. I mean, you would thought we were at Wimbledon because their two favorite players won that tournament, won that match. So as you can see, I had a lot of fun in most of my classes, and the unique things that we had to deal with were actually still fun. And I just thank God for my experiences I had in 3 different schools. Now I think I'll spend some time, because I have a lot to talk about on the NIL. First I'll ask, does anybody have any questions about my teaching and coaching? Oh, I got one back there from the lady in the back, and that lady's familiar. She's my wife. Go ahead. The what? Oh, no, that's too long. Oh. Okay, I'll tell it because it's really a scary story. My last year of teaching was in 2011, and my class was sport management, and it was a lecture class. And I had a guy in the class who was a convicted child pornographer, convicted. And I asked the dean, why is this guy still in Duke University? And the dean said, well, we don't consider child pornography as a violent crime. So I said, well, okay. Well, he hollered in my class and made all kinds of comments. As a matter of fact, one of the comments that they had to present their business plan to the class like they were trying to raise money. And so I asked him, well, where are you going to raise the money from? We're going to Las Vegas to gamble. I said, oh, that'll work good, raising money for your business plan. Anyway, he said, well, here's my business plan with his other two guys. And I went over the business plan. I made about 19 corrections. And I said, you can't present this. You have to make the corrections. And so he said, we will. And I said to him, if you present this business plan, you're going to fail. So, okay, we come to present the business plan. He presents the old business plan. So I said to him, now, I told you about this. Now you're going to get an F in this class. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just give you a D so you can possibly graduate. So I gave him a D, and he calls me up on the phone, and he says, you really don't know anything about business and sports and stuff. And I said, well, I know a little bit about it. He said, well, I am filing a lawsuit against you for discrimination against me because you know I'm a child pornographer. So sure enough, he filed a lawsuit against me, and so we had to have a meeting with all of our colleagues and some members, and we had a meeting with about 5 people, and I said, I'm not going to the meeting unless he has a security person, unless we have somebody that's a security person in the meeting, because I think he could shoot me. I was really afraid of him. So we get in there and we introduce everybody, and he goes around and introduces himself. He said, who are you? He said, I'm the security guy. He said, well, you will hear from my lawyer tomorrow, and I'll call the Department of Education about discrimination against me. I said, okay. So we went ahead with the meeting. He sat outside, right outside the door. And so we went through the whole procedure, and I gave my case, and he gave his case. And then when they went out, some of the people then said, this guy is crazy. I said, you're kidding. I've been saying that for a whole semester that he's crazy, and he shouldn't be in Duke University, let alone in my class. But he was. So sure enough, he filed his lawsuit, and luckily Duke covered me and took 3 months to get it over, and they determined it was a frivolous suit. That's the worst thing that ever happened to me in my 53 years of teaching. Unfortunately, it was my last year, and it just broke my heart. So anyway, and that's my experiences. I'm going to stop there with my experiences, and I hope I didn't bore you too much with those experiences. They were fun for me. Anybody have a question about my experiences? No? Okay. Nobody? I'm good. Okay. Pardon? Except for the last one, yeah. It was delightful. Well, we'll now talk about the NIL. Does everybody know what the NIL is? The NIL is called, now I'm drawing a blank on it. I as name and legend, yeah. It's where people get money for playing sports. And I'm vehemently opposed to this. I'm vehemently opposed because I went through, when I wrote my book, which I didn't talk to you about, the book that, my last book that I wrote. I have written 4 books, and this is the last one, College Sports on the Brink of Disaster. And if you want to find out the whole story about my life and about how college athletes can succeed and about the NIL, it's in the library. So if anybody wants to read it. And then I'm going to have a question at the end. If anybody gets the right question, I will give them the book. So anyway, NIL, and now at Duke University and every university has a person that's responsible for securing money to give to the players that supposedly have done something for this company. For example, Cooper Flagg, which you probably know, he got about, I'm figuring he got between $7 and $10 million in NIL money while he was at Duke University. And one of his best ones was New Balance shoes. He has a contract with them. And guess who he turned down to take New Balance shoes? He turned down Nike. Now, do you think New Balance gave him less money than Nike is going to give him? No. Was he going to stay one and done? Absolutely. I don't have a problem with one and done. I don't have a problem with the salary that he makes. Anybody in here know what his salary is this year in the NBA? $62 million. It's obscene. But I have no problem with it at all. And the reason I have no problem with it is because that is a business that he's going into. Basketball wants to make money. At Duke University, athletics are not there because they want to make money. Now, I'm going to ask you all a question right now. How many of you played in some organized sport? Okay, good. I always had the philosophy that there's something good about playing in an organized sport, but I have difficulty getting through my head why we should pay somebody to play a sport that they're already getting an education from and getting the benefits of playing a sport. But we do, and the reason we do is there was an assumption that the players were being cheated because their university was making a lot of money, and they were not getting any of it. So that's how it all came about. And it's really gotten much worse, to tell you the truth. It's not good at all, as a matter of fact. And, but I said to myself, you know, I have no problem, but I do have a problem. Now, we now actually have more money going to those athletes now. The federal government had a lawsuit against the NCAA, and they collected, I want to get this right, I believe it's $2.8 billion from the NCAA. Now, the NCAA is supposed to allocate this money to the players who are already getting money, and they're already on scholarship, full scholarship, and they're paid by Duke University for going to class, which they didn't do all the time. But anyway, the money that they get now will be passed out to the universities in parcels depending on the size of the university. And then the university will pass the money directly on to the teams. And they have it proportionally allowed out. And one of the things that's a big issue now is that the football team got 70% of the money. Basketball team got 50%, and girls' sports got 5%. Now, guess where the lawsuit came from? Title IX filed a lawsuit that day. And so that will be in litigation for a long time. And the thing that disturbs me the most is I always feel like that there's so much to be gained from playing a sport. I mean, just if you've played a sport, why did you play? Those of you that played, why did you bother to play a sport? Anybody want to tell me why they played?
I loved it.
You loved it. Why did you love it? What?
I loved playing baseball.
Oh, love playing baseball.
And I had an opportunity.
Did you learn anything from playing baseball besides how to hit a curveball?
No, I couldn't hit.
Well, did you learn discipline? Did you learn time management?
Being on a team and being part of a team and the relationships with the team.
Yeah,
And when the team did well, you felt great.
right,
And when we lost, we felt crappy.
right,
As a team,
right.
not just individual players.
Well, the two things I always felt were most important in a team, and what you should learn, is team management. We're all as a team, and you play as a team, and you expect your teammates to do what they're been given a scholarship to come for. Now, what happens? What other things did you learn? I hope you learned trust. I thought that was the most important thing any player could learn from me. Do you trust me to do the right thing as your coach? Do I trust you to do the things you're supposed to do as a player? And all of my players, they just said, okay, that's great. We trust you, coach. And the other things I said is you're going to learn that what comes first, which is academics. That's first in your agenda if you're a varsity player or supposed to be. Second comes the team that you're playing on, and third comes life. I mean, you have so many issues in life, and I hope these things will help you with you'll get through your life happily. And I felt I spent all my life, most of my life, playing, and I never had any idea that it would lead to this career that I have. But I just felt like I learned so many things, and the players on the team are friends for life. I still have players that graduated 50 years ago, and they send me Christmas presents. You know, they call me to see how I'm doing. Now, why would they do that? They trust me, and I trust them. So we still have, and a lot of them still meet, and they go skiing together, and they go to the beach together. A lot of the same players on the team, they do that. And it's just amazing what you learn from playing a sport. Do we have to pay people to play sports? Yes, we do. And why do we? Because there were some people that thinking that the people that played on the teams didn't get any of the revenue. And I always ask the same question. If you're playing on the team and you're getting a college degree, is that worth anything? Most people don't think so now. Most athletes don't even go to class much, to tell you the truth. So they don't, most of them don't graduate, to tell you the truth. Now, there are some that graduate and do a great job and come back 5 years later and finish their classes. That's great. If they would all do that, I would be very happy with that. But just as far as giving the money to them for playing the sport, and the money is big-time money. I mean, we're not talking a little bit of money. The guy at Baycock who played for Carolina, he played 6 years at Carolina, and he wound up with $5 million in the bank when he graduated. Now, I'm not opposed to paying these players. I'm not opposed to that. But my philosophy to paying them should be that we will pay you for every year. If you leave Duke University or the university, in the first year, you only get 25% of the money that we've garnered for you. If you leave the second year, you get 50%. You leave the third year, you get 75%. Last year, you get all your money. Now, wouldn't it be nice for everybody that played wind up with $2 million in the bank when you start your life? But no, everybody wants the money now. They want to drive their new BMW. They want to drive the Lamborghini. And that's, if you look at where they're spending their money, that's where they are. One good thing, excuse me, that I will say about Duke University, if you graduate from Duke University and go into the pros, they will provide you with an advisor. And the advisor will help you finance whatever you're going to do. So you just don't blow your money. And guess how many friends you're going to have when you come out with $5 million. It's amazing. Everybody will be your friend. So NIL is not necessarily bad. It's just the way it came about is just not going to move too good. I don't know if any of you have seen this newspaper, all right? That's where I was talking about. They're going to get a lot more money. Now, why do we want to give them more money when they're all making really good money now? I don't understand that at all. And I've tried to say to the people who put it together, what happened is when they put it together, they didn't think about the unintended consequences of this sport, of what happened. Now, the women's sports, now, if you believe this, and it's true, they are now getting money, NIL money. The ones that are getting it are usually swimmers and soccer players, and there's one other sport, gymnastics, that are actually getting NIL money. Are they getting the money like basketball and football is? No. No, they're not. Now, what actually come out about this now, they're not supposed to get NIL money for playing. They're just getting NIL money because they happen to come there. But you know about the portal? You know what the portal is, anybody? Anybody knows what the portal is? The portal is where people that are playing in this university can transfer schools immediately, right now. Now, they have a portal, there's certain times you can go in. So what they have is people on the portal list and other coaches, if they're missing a player, they will look on the portal list and they will call somebody and say, do you want to come to my university? The next question they get is, how much are you going to pay me? It's all about money. And my philosophy is, the whole thing that's run college athletics is money. And what caused that was TV. Without the TV, there wasn't nearly any money, very little money. As a matter of fact, even in today, there's only 21 colleges that actually come out in the black. All the rest of them come out in the red. Now, why would any college president start a football team or sports teams on their campus when they know they're going to lose money? I often credit the president and the trustees for the dilemma that we're in. Never, excuse me, have I read one thing in the newspaper or heard on the TV or anywhere else, a comment about the NIL from a president or any trustees. Never. Now, don't they run the university? Aren't they in charge of the university? Why do they never say anything? You would think they'd say, I love it, or they'd think they'd say, I hate it, or something, but I can't imagine how they would like it. The only reason that they like it, I think, is because their school gets in the newspaper every day, and theoretically it attracts more students. I'm not sure that's really true, because I don't, Duke University doesn't have trouble attracting students, I'll guarantee you. What was it, last year they had 43,000 students apply for 1,600 spots. So I got a feeling that they would still get a lot of students, even if they didn't have sports, which I hope they do. Do I still enjoy watching the games? Absolutely. I will enjoy watching the games. It's a lot of fun. But I used to ask, and I would say, when I meet one of the players, basketball or football, I say, well, what are you going to major in? Well, I don't know. Well, you don't know. Well, now I'd ask them, how much money are you getting? They don't care what a major is going to be. It's all about the money. So my philosophy is, if we don't change it somewhere, it's going to be significantly worse. And how could it get worse? The college presidents now are talking about paying the players a salary and making them employees. I wonder if they're going to get vacation time. I wonder if they're going to get, all the benefits they get from being on the university. Are you going to get all the days off that they have? They have a gazillion days off at the university for everything that comes up. So are they going to get all these benefits? I don't know. Are they really going to pay them? What kind of salary will they determine them? Are they going to pay them $10,000 or $10 million? I doubt it. So they probably won't do it. But they've said they would like to do that, and I think it's probably one of the worst ideas. So what's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen to the NIL, and what do you think is going to happen to college sports? Especially football and basketball, that's mainly what we're talking about. What's going to happen is it's going to be exactly in the model of the NBA and the NFL. So all the players, whether they'll be a student, I'm not sure. But it's almost there right now, because you look at the players, and almost all the ones that are in the starting lineup are getting money already, so they're getting close to it. And now they're talking about forming a union. The players want to form a union so they get more money, other than just the NIL. So I'm a little disordered about where is the president and where are the trustees about all this. I know where they are. They're hiding. They don't want to lose their job because the alumni will go crazy if you drop the sports. Because then they can't say Duke beat Carolina or State beat Duke or all the bragging they can do. But that's what bothers me more than anything else. And I asked a question, and maybe you should think about this. Do you think the college players, let's say basketball, would they be happy playing with nobody in the stands? I asked my class that. They said, absolutely not. They would not play. I said, well, I thought the sport was for them. It's what they get out of the sport, not what the fans get out of the sport. But everybody thinks that's a crazy idea. Now, I'm not opposed to having fans in the stadium, But I am opposed to paying players, and I hope we come out of it, but I honestly don't think we ever will. I think it will just continue to grow, and it'll be more and more like the pros as the time goes on. Now, I've usually talked a little bit longer than I had planned to talk because I wanted to leave 15 minutes for questions. Does anybody have, yeah? Please use the speaker so everybody can hear it. Who's got this? You got this? Oh, there it is, yeah, so everybody can hear it.
I understand that the Service Academy athletes cannot receive NIL because they're federal employees, and my prediction is they will not be able to participate at the levels they do now in those big revenue sports. They won't be able to get anybody.
I hope you're right. They won't be. Did everybody hear that? Yeah.
Service Academy athletes cannot participate in NIL.
Yeah.
And
They probably couldn't be employees in NIL too, but I'm not sure that's
well,
true. I'm not, well, you're probably right.
yeah.
But I don't know if you know this, anybody knows this, but if you are a scientist at Duke University and you invent something, Duke University owns it. So why is it that basketball players and football players get paid and they're using all our facilities, all our employees, all of our coaches and everything, and they keep the money? It's kind of queer, kind of weird. So anybody else got a question? Yeah. Mark, you want to give him the... Oh, you want to ask the question first? Well, I didn't know he had that already.
I was curious about coaches. I was wondering what they get paid and maybe assistant coaches. My impression is they're not at the poverty level.
No, as you happen to notice, do you know what UNC paid their football staff?
No.
$50 million just for the football staff. And the guy who's the head coach got $11 million. So why do they do that? They want to beat Duke and State. So that's the whole reason for it. They don't want to beat Duke and State. Yeah.
I was going to ask a question. I've had some experience. I went to UNC. I guess some of you have heard of that school. So a long time ago, we ran into a problem over at UNC with the equity of club sports, PE, varsity athletics, and those pesky women who were pressing everything at the time. So we set up a committee, and I got a chance to look at a lot of the stuff that goes on about this. And I'm wondering, where is this going? And one of the things that worries me is I'm a jock, I'll be honest with you. And I love the sports.
Yeah.
I like to play them. I like to watch them. But the universities many years ago, if you look back in the history of it, really took over systems of clubs that were playing well, and were drawing crowds of alumni and stuff like that. And then they suborned the club operation and turned it into professional operations at the school. And that was because it brought in A, alumni money, B, the students around, that would-be students around, have would want to come to their universities. And it's grown into what it is. I believe the first takeover occurred either at Michigan or Ohio State. I can't remember the details on that. But I'm watching another phenomenon right now. Schools disappearing because they can't attract students. And it's one of the big things that we have here. And if we're going to play NBA level and in NFL level sports, for play for pay, try to make a profit. I've always thought that the university was right in their assumption that the sports would be played and the money would come in. It would support their athletic department so that would not be a drain on the academics. And one of the things that I'm noticing is, and it's kind of scaring me, there's some fine liberal arts universities. I'm thinking particularly one that I had a fondness for, is Limestone College. And they were a wonderful school, started out as a women's school, went co-ed to try to keep up with the times. And 2 years ago, they started a football program. I think it was back in November, the Board of Trustees says, we can't even keep the doors open. We're shutting down. And that is occurring throughout the country. Our smaller institutions can't attract anybody. anymore to pay their higher tuition.
What is your question?
It's not a question. It's a statement about, it is a statement about what are we going to do keep these big-time sports and just give up that old idea of a balanced education, the liberal arts education? Are we going to spin them off or keep doing it and acknowledge that fact?
Well, all I know is that I'm not sure what's going to happen because it all happens so quickly, and usually nobody thinks about it, but I'm hoping that we won't just do NBA stuff and NFL. Yes, go ahead. Next question. But somebody else have a question? If not, I have one more thing I want to do. Two more things. Oh, he's got a question behind you, right behind you. Okay. Jim?
Why do you seem to imply the universities aren't responsible for part of this, since?
Why do I think universities are
I think
what?
they're being driven by money too.
All driven by money. It's all about money. Everything's about money in today's. But I want to do two more things, and then we'll call it a day. Does anybody? I have one of my books here that I'm willing to give away. If anybody can tell me what two sports at Duke University hosted an NCAA championship. Pardon? I can't hear you. Fencing did. That's one. I didn't think anybody would get it. But he's the only one that got fencing, so I'm going to give him the book. The other team was the golf. Golf hosted the NCAA tournament, and so did fencing. Now, I got one more thing to do, and that's the last thing because my time is up. All of you either played sports or would like to play sports. And one of the important things about sports is reaction time. So I'm going to test your reaction time. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hands up, and when my hands cross each other, I want you to clap. Every time they cross, you clap. Okay, you ready? Get your hands up there, get ready. Nobody clapped. You got to clap loud. Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming. Yeah. What? Oh, I forgot to tell you, this picture is me. It's hard to believe, it's me.